This is Ben Davison. Subscribe to Stephen Icon.
Now, as we're all accustomed now, Frank Warren has no issues going in on Anthony Joshua or anything to do with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. Hey, listen, they're rivals. He's never going to sing their praise, of course not. So in this article here, which I'll put in the description box, he has described Anthony Joshua as going from Park Lane to Brick Lane. For those who understand Park Lane, just look at your Monopoly board. It's a very high pricing area, right? So he's saying that Anthony Joshua's stock has dropped. Initially, he's saying because Joshua isn't taking on the best. He's not doing what's right for the fans, as Frank Warren likes to call it. Anyway, in this article, Frank Warren, he speaks about all this and he starts off with the offer that Eddie Hearn has put forward to Tyson Fury for an April 13th Wembley Stadium fight. And this is what Frank Warren had to say. Eddie's offer is nowhere near what Tyson wants or is worth. He made a derisory offer and that's it. And that's why he's not making any fights for his man until his man is sitting at home twiddling his thumbs, having turned down an $80 million offer last year to fight Wilder. That's a fact of life and no one has made that back up for him. I think the Anthony Joshua bubble has burst a bit with the public. I don't think people are standing for that anymore. You can't just keep putting his picture on a poster and expect to sell 80,000 tickets. That will not happen anymore. I don't think the April 13th fight will happen there. And who cares about Jarrell Miller? The British public would not know Jarrell Miller if he walked into the room. Joshua has gone from Park Lane to Brick Lane. Frank Warren's statement. So, okay. Now, he's talking about what the public want. Because, listen, every time Frank Warren does an interview, whether it be IFL or whoever it may be, he's always saying, the fans, it's not what's good for the fans. You know, he's talking about StubHub and whatever. Yeah, StubHub were sponsoring and selling tickets for Wilder vs. Fury the first time around. Okay? But I do understand his grievance with StubHub. And he's right about StubHub. But he's always about what the fans want. They're not giving what the fans want. As Frank Warren says, many of you guys who've seen his interviews will understand exactly what it is I'm saying. But yeah, here he is, pretty much agreeing to any kind of terms and conditions that Team Wilder want. And one of those conditions will be to have a rematch with Fury in America. Is that what the fans want, Frank? Tyson Fury already travelled, so shouldn't the return favour be in the UK? Listen, we know Wilder's afraid to travel. But you're letting them get away with it because you don't want it to go to purse bid. So you are going to concede and probably concede on it going to Vegas. Why? Because it makes more money, as you put it. It's not really what the fans want, is it? Do the fans want to see who it is that Anthony Yard's fighting? Of course not. Do the public care who Anthony Yard is fighting? No, and that's down to you as well, Frank. Now, when it comes to Anthony Joshua, has a bubble burst? Maybe. And I'll tell you why maybe. Because when you look at the heavyweight division, who is it that Anthony Joshua can fight? When you've got Wilder and Fury, these guys would rather fight each other next than fight Anthony Joshua. So Joshua could do nothing about it. So when you look at the rest of the heavyweight division, who is it that Anthony Joshua is supposed to fight that's going to get the fans really excited? It's a very small pool, and there's a reason for it, because Anthony Joshua has already fought them all and already beat them all. Wilder didn't do that. Wilder hasn't even cleaned up domestically yet. He lost to a 60-70% Tyson Fury on December the 1st. Got a gift draw. Tyson Fury's getting hype because of everything that he'd done to himself. As in, he put on all that weight and whatever. He didn't bring on anxiety and depression, of course not. But I'm talking about other things, putting drugs in his system. He did that to himself. Tyson Fury said that with his own words. And I know people don't like hearing it, but he did it to himself. But he's come back from hero to zero, back to hero again. People love the journey. People love the story. But people want to see Fury versus Joshua more than they do Fury versus Wilder. So him saying a derisory offer, he loves that word derisory, doesn't he? I think he found that in the dictionary over the last couple of weeks and tends to use it quite a lot. But listen, if he considers that kind of offer derisory, fine, it's derisory, okay, fine. Because Frank Warren says 50-50, but Tyson Fury isn't champion. So how could he get 50-50? If he was to go over there and beat Wilder and get Wilder on his resume, as in officially do it, yeah, you know, there's a real good chance that he may well get 50-50. As we know, he's already beaten Wilder, but physically he didn't get the decision. So 50-50 against Joshua. Joshua, who has been putting bums on seats. Joshua, who is a unified champion. Joshua, who didn't beat one person to become a unified champion. He had to beat 3. He had to do all the groundwork and beat the same guy that Tyson Fury beat in Vladimir Klitschko. So Frank is taking any kind of opportunity to try and say that Tyson Fury is a bigger name than Anthony Joshua, as in Tyson Fury is on the rise, Anthony Joshua's on the down low. And to a point, he might be right, to a small point. But as I said, because Joshua has already beaten Povetkin, he's already beaten Brazil, he's already beaten Dillian Whyte. See, he's beaten these guys. So who else is there left outside of Wilder and Fury that he hasn't fought already? Outside of those, the biggest name is Dillian Whyte. I love that fight. And the boxing public loved that fight. And if Dillian Whyte was with Frank Warren would also love that fight. But he's being hypocritical when he's saying about Derisory offers and not giving what the public want when you're not doing the same. You're putting a rematch with Tyson Fury in Vegas when it should be in the UK because you're afraid of it going to purse bid. So you're going to concede it just to get the fight. Even though that's not in the best interest of the public. Correct? You're doing the same thing with Anthony Yard. Look at some of your events lately. Is this in the best interest of public? Frank Warren is a fantastic promoter. He's a brilliant promoter. But he can't think outside the box sometimes. As I said, Joshua's already beaten everybody. Please give me names outside of Wilder Fury that he hasn't already fought that you'll be excited about. Because he's already beaten them. He's already fought them. But he can't fight Wilder or Fury because they won't fight him. They want to fight each other. Again, I don't have an issue with them two rematching. I only have an issue with the location. As most people do. And a 40% for a non-champion is a very, very good offer. 40% against Anthony Joshua. Listen, Tyson Fury said he wants a flat fee. I don't know what the flat fee offer was. No idea. But we do know that 40% is also on the table. Frank Warren said 50-50. When you say 50-50, if anybody says 50-50 against Joshua, that's saying, I don't want the fight. That's exactly what it is. How can you be a B-side to Wilder, but not be a B-side to Joshua? It doesn't make any kind of logical sense. And you have to travel to Wilder's own country. It doesn't make any kind of sense. I'd love to know what percentage split he's going to get to fight Wilder in the rematch. I'd love to know. Because the WBC ordered it as 40% if it goes to purse bid. Are they going to agree on a 45%? 51-49? Is it going to be 50-50? Arguably, Tyson Fury should get more. He's already beaten Wilder. So, listen, has Anthony Joshua gone from Park Lane to Brick Lane? No, of course he hasn't. Of course he hasn't. It's just that people wanted to see him versus Wilder. Wilder isn't picking up the phone. He just isn't picking up the phone. He's not answering the email. So how can he make the fight? Wilder's already said it doesn't matter what offer comes through. He ain't fighting Joshua next. That's a duck. It's a blatant duck, is what it is. And Frank Warren's talking about the 80 million, how Joshua turned down 80 million. Did he? Really? You see, again, Frank, you're not being forthcoming with the entire truth here, are you? Because it wasn't 80 million, was it? It was $50 million and then $30 million for the rematch if Joshua lost. So yeah, a combined 80 million for 2 fights, not for one fight, But where was that fight going to be broadcast? It's going to be broadcast on BT Sport. How do you know that, Frank? Because you were part of the deal, correct? And Frank also knows Joshua cannot fight on BT Sport. He never could. Ever since he's turned pro, he's been exclusive to Sky Sports. The only time that he could potentially not fight on Sky Sports is against a mandatory. If the mandatory goes to purse bid and the mandatory wins the purse bid, then they own the entire event. You can't just buy the event when you're not a mandatory. Because Wilder versus Joshua is voluntary for both of them. Wilder isn't tied to Showtime. Joshua is tied to Sky Sports. So this 80 million, he may as well have offered 10 billion. It makes no difference because he would have lost practically all that money that he would have had to have paid back to Sky Sports for breach of contract. So again, he's not being very forthcoming with the truth. Listen, is it a derisory offer to offer 40%? Of course it's not. It's a very good offer. It's a very, very good offer at 40%. I mean, what's 40%? Is it a £100 million fight? If it is, then that's £40 million, correct? Where else is Tyson Fury going to make £40 million? Is he going to make more money fighting Wilder? Of course he's not. Not even close to it. But again, you want to say about the public, you're not giving what the public want by having the fight in America again. Because you don't want to concede, because you want to ensure of the fight by giving in to Team Wilder's terms and conditions. But, I mean, he has said that Tyson Fury wants to fight in the UK. He wants to fight in the UK. And I do believe that they do want to fight in the UK. But they're not going to press the issue. Or, at least Frank isn't. He's not going to press the issue. Anyway, I'll put the article in the description box. Go give it a read for yourself. Come to your own conclusions, all that kind of stuff. Drop your thoughts below. Click the thumbs up. And, of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.